today. Today is another exciting project. This is an interactive card, and I think it's exciting because tomorrow is my husband's birthday, and I made this card for him. He hasn't seen it yet, and he is a woodworker, or not just as a hobby. And when I saw the Vintage Tools new stamp set in the annual catalog, I knew that was one of my first top of my list stamps to get. I love all these things, and anyway, and the fun sentiments and everything. So there is not a die or a punch that goes with it. It's just the stamp set. So we're going to be doing some fussy cutting. But one of the things that I really like about the card is that it is interactive, and so the plane here actually will move back and forth. So it's an interactive card. And we've got shavings. We made a pegboard in the back. But yeah, it's just super fun that it is an interactive card. So let's get started, and I'll show you how to make it, and with some little tips and tricks, and I will tell you some of the dimensions. So let me pull that one out of the way for a second. So we're going to start with the early espresso for our card base. And it's the regular A4 card base, so it's 8.5 by 5.5, scored at 4.25. All right, so that is our base with early espresso, and then we've got crumb cake, and the crumb cake is 1/4 inch smaller, and it could even be a touch smaller than that, honestly, because it's going to be hiding. So it will be anywhere from 4 by 5.25, or you could actually make it even, it could go all the way up to 4.25, or it could only be 4 if you wanted to. So that is the crumb cake. And then you'll need a couple pieces of the gray, and I think this is gray granite, or I don't remember. Honestly, I get my grays confused. And you'll need 2 little pieces for that, because we're gonna layer them together. All right, you'll need a little piece of very vanilla for your sentiment, and you'll need some soft suede. And you'll need 2 pieces of that. They're cut exactly the same. And the soft suede is cut at 2 inches by 5.25. And I actually ended up making it just 1/8 inch less. So I think this one is actually 1 7/8 by 5.25. And I'll have all these measurements on my blog, creativetreehouse.blog, if you didn't catch them when I am going through them. Let's see, is that all that we need? You also need extra, if you want some of the shavings, you'll need also a little tiny piece of the soft suede that you can cut and curl and turn into little shavings. I think that's it as far as measurements for everything. So let's pull that out of the way, and let me show you some other things. One thing here's the plane, and let me show you how plain it is when you stamp it. Now I stamped it in the Memento black, the tuxedo black, and then I used some of the Stampin' Right markers and some of the watercolor pencils to color it. So let's see if I can grab them with my other hand. So a bunch of those, and colored it a little bit. So that's the difference. I don't think it can, yeah, you can see it a little bit. So anyway, I colored it. And then what else do we need? And that is doubled. So once you've stamped it, you're gonna, like I said, you're gonna need the 2 pieces of the gray, glue them together, and you don't have to stamp it one side, and then you will fussy cut it. So get your paper snips, and you'll fussy cut all around, and then it's just a little bit thicker because you're going to be moving it, so it would be better just to have a thicker piece there. And let's see what else. On the soft suede, you're going to end up putting these pieces together, and on this one. I ran it through an embossing folder. I think this might have been Plank or something like that. I don't remember the name of it, but it's an older one, an older embossing folder. You can tell because it still has the Sizzix name on it. But in the new catalog, there is one that is, I think it's Timber 3D, which would be very, very similar, and you can use that. I don't have that one yet, but that one would work equally as well. All right, the next thing that you've got to figure out a way to make the little cut. And I happen to have a very old die set of, it was called Sliding Door. If for any reason you have that one, you could certainly use that. But there's anything that's going to be, this just happened to be the right length and everything. So you could create your own. You could actually take a little tiny, I'm trying to say a hole punch and punch ends. But the trick on this one is you're not going to run it all the way through the die machine. You are only going to run it part way through because we want it to be able to peel. So you're going to run it, since the plane is going this way, in my imagination anyway, it was pushing up the, I'll show you, I'll take this off. I've just got some washi tape holding that down. So I didn't run it all the way through, otherwise there'd be two ends and it would come undone. So that is what I did, and so now we're going to be able to curl that up. So my thought was that when the plane went this way, it was going to curl this wood up. I could be wrong because I am not a woodworker, but anyway, that's the thought there. And let me show you. I forgot to look up and see if this still exists. It may not, but I think it's the piercing tool. And I didn't use the pokey part, but you could. I actually just used it like that, the cap, and I just rolled it on across there till you got it all rolled up. And you'll do the same with the little tiny pieces that you wanna, the little shavings that you make. So I'm just rolling it up on there. It's also trying to come off at the same time. So. Yeah, so anyway, you've got it rolled like it's pushed it with the shavings. And like I said, I may have that backwards. So you might want to consult your local woodworker and find out if that was right or not. Okay, the next thing is I wanted to give the wood a little bit more dimension. And so I took some of the little sponge daubers and I daubered it, and I probably just started with crumb cake ink, and I just daubered it a little bit so that we could just get a little bit more texture. It's got the texture from the embossing folder, but this just adds just a little bit more. So however you wanted to do it, you could probably also use the blending brushes as well. So, but just a little bit of color on there. So that's what I did for the wood. Okay, so that was the crumb cake, and you could add a little bit. In fact, I think I will. I'm going to go with the soft suede, and I'm going to actually do the edges just a little bit. So probably got a little bit too much there. All right, so I'm just going to do the edges again, just giving it more life and not so flat, and making it more 3D looking. Okay, so that was adding a touch of the soft suede ink to that. That may be all I need for that. All right. Okay, so you've got this piece, and then you're going to have this one that's the same size, and you can just see the difference there between those two. And that's where we're going to put those together and make our little mechanism and everything. And I believe we can probably do that, but let's first move this out of the way. And let me show you what I did with the pegboard. Okay, so you've got the crumb cake piece. And it's important, if you decide to do this exactly this way, that you will stamp, use your chisel and your awl. I hope that's right. Again, I didn't double check with my woodworker, but I think that's the chisel and that's an awl. But anyway, from the stamp set, but you could use whichever tools that you wanted. And it's important to put them down first, otherwise you're going to have pegboard pieces on top of it. And then I used this masking mask, and I did not look up to see what set that was actually on. Let's see how I want to put it. I'm gonna just make it fairly even, and just make sure. Let me move this one out of the way. You just don't want it to move on you. Okay, so that's what I did, and then I used an early espresso, the fine tip of the Stampin' Right marker. And then what I did was I just made little holes. I went to each of the holes and I just did a little tiny squiggle, not just one dot, but I made just a tiny little bit of these little holes. And that ended up being my pegboard, just right in the center of each one. Of course, nobody's going to be measuring it. And so now you can see why I wanted that to be there, because we don't need a hole in the middle of our tools that are hanging on the pegboard. And so I will finish that really quickly. I'll go off camera so I don't bore you with little dots, and then okay, I think I got all of the dots and tried to miss the tools there. I think I failed to mention that the tools I stamped those in with the black Memento ink as well. All right, so we're gonna pull up our mask and see how our pegboard looks. There you go. Now see, I just really thought it helped look like a pegboard. So let me pull that out of the way. And then I also did a little bit of coloring on these just to make it pop out as well, and used some more of the watercolor pencils, and I think I used a little bit of the Stampin' Right markers as well. So I made this one a little bit yellow and gave that one a little reddish color so that it wouldn't look quite as flat. And then, of course, you don't have to do your dots all the way down because it's going to be hidden with that. Let's see, what else? Is there anything else missing? Okay, this particular piece I think is a little bit, yep, this one hasn't been cut down, so we'll cut that one down. And what else do we need? On the words, let's see if I can locate my sentiment real quickly. Oh, there goes one of my little shavings. This is a retired die. It is, I think, from the Ornate Frames set. So if you happen to still have that one worked really well. So, and I just, since it's a vintage tool set, I thought we would need to dauber that one and give it a little bit of an antiqued look. So I'll just get the dauber and I'll just go around the edges of this one on the sentiment to make it look aged. Vintage. Yes, my husband will be he'll be vintage. Yeah, it's actually a big birthday for him. So this is we don't really have any plans. Ran into somebody today that wondered if we were doing a surprise party for him, but we are not. We did for his 40th, we did for his 50th, so now you can probably guess what age he might be tomorrow. So there is that, and just again it adds a little bit more dimension. I think it also makes the little the seam, the little stitching pop out a little bit more. Okay, I think we're about there. And we're gonna let's go ahead and put our mechanism together and see how that goes together. So like I said, you'll need the top piece and then the bottom piece after you've got it all cut and daubered or whatever you're going to do. And they should be approximately the same size. I don't know that those are the same size. This one may be. I may have not trimmed this one down. Let's see if I trimmed this one down. I don't think I did. So I'm going to do some quick trimming on those two, and then we'll put that together. And I guess, yep, I'll be right back after I trim those to the correct length that I told you. All right, hopefully we got all the dimensions correct on this. So, and while I was at it, I went ahead and colored the the tools. And now, the more I'm thinking about this, I'm not so sure that's an awl. I think it may just be a screwdriver. Good question. Yeah, it's not pokey. I think awls are pokey, but you can see how much I know. All right, so let's move that over here and let's work on our mechanism, which is just super cool. All right, you will need the little foam strips, and I'm gonna flip this guy over. I'm gonna see if I can uncurl him a minute. It'll be easier to do it flatter. Okay, and so you will need one, find out which part is the sticky, towards the end, and you'll need one on the sides, and wherever that is will end up being the stopper really for your mechanism. Right, and this one's a little bit too small, so let me get another piece of the foam strip. All right, and here is where it gets a little tricky, so let me do just the side piece, and then we're gonna stop for a second and work on the plane. Okay, so let me just set the rest of that foam strip aside. Okay, so on the plane, what we need is, you need the plane, and I didn't tell you, but you need is it 2 pennies or 1 penny? Yeah, I just made this the other day. I think you might just need 1. Let me think about this. Yeah, I think you'll need 1. All right. No, you need 2. Because the plane has a little bit of, let me see if I can see underneath mine, if I can. Nope, I can't. I just see the tape. So what I did was, and actually that little piece of tape might be, nope, still too small. All right, we'll go back with our foam strip. All right, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna put the foam strip right in here on our plane. Okay, and then we are going to, let's see if we're gonna, it's gonna fit, if it's exactly into this hole, and so it's gonna slide back and forth. But what it needs, because it doesn't need to be totally flat up against there, it's not gonna slide all that well. It's gonna need the pennies, and I'm wondering if, yeah, I feel like I put 2 pennies, one here. Oh guys, sorry you guys can't see that. I went down too low. Here and here. Let's see what happens if I do it. We can put a penny here and a penny here. Okay. And then, and actually, you know what? Hang on. Let's sit it in here. All the way in. Okay. And then attach the pennies, and you want it to be able to, so that's as far as it's going to go, which is perfect. So I'm going to put the penny here, so the penny's going to hit the edge on that one, and then I'll put the other penny here. And so now the penny is keeping you from, it's hitting, I think the whole thing is. Okay, so, and then we should be able to do it that way as well. So that's how we did it, and yep, I think that works really well. Okay, the next thing we want to do though, and you can see that there's just barely, let me move this penny down just a tiny bit, because there is barely enough room for our foam strip to go up here at the top, because you need to make a little, like a little channel that it's gonna go in. And the channel part is the most important, that you get it to where, all right, let's make sure. Yep, that's looking good. And then we'll need one more to secure it down. We'll use one more of the foam strips, and we're gonna do it right below the pennies, just right below it. Like so. Except for the fact there we go. And you don't want it to, you want it to be able to move. So let's, before we pull it all off, let's be sure it's moving. Okay, looks good. Okay. I think we're done with that. Let's flip it over, give it a go on that side. Yes, and it really does help that this is doubled in thickness. Okay, looks good. The other thing, when I trimmed this, I did not go back and put the edging on that, and I'm noticing that right now. So let's go give it a little bit of soft suede on the. That is a little darker. I think we may have burned our burned our bench there. Okay. That looks good. See what else we're missing. I don't think we're missing anything else. And so we're going to go ahead and put these two together like that. So now we can take all the tape, the backs of our tape off. And adhere those two together. And make sure that our plane still goes back and forth. Okay. And sometimes it's easier to just set it like that. And your other piece could be smaller if you needed it to be. And then just, I decided that it would be, I didn't like the white. I don't think anybody's going to really notice the white, but you can certainly take one of your Stampin' Right markers and just draw on top of, see if I can get my marker in there, draw on top of it, and then it'll be a little less white, a little less noticeable. So not a big deal, but that's certainly something that you could do if you wanted to. Right. Oh, we're getting so close. Okay, and then we're going to put this on top of that, just like that. And the reason that I made it, well, I was just talking away and it disappeared. So I'll have to go back and decide what part of that you might have missed. So I apologize there. So anyway, we've got this ready to adhere here, and I started to say that the reason I tried to make this one just a touch smaller is because this, you need to make your chisel, if that's what that is, as close up to the top as you can, because otherwise, like, see right here, it's just a little bit too, if I put it all the way where it might belong, you're not going to see the end of the chisel. So, but I think, let's get our this and see if I made it, because I think, no, that's going to be, all right, so we're going to put that there, and we can even, yeah, that's what we'll do. I think that's what I did before. Perfect. Yes. Okay. So that is that size, but I'm going to actually put this one all the way down to the bottom, and then you'll see that visually. I think it just will help. So I think we can go ahead and adhere everything together, and we should be really close to having our card done, which is a good thing because I'll have to have everything ready for his birthday. Now, I have not made the inside of my card, but what I'm going to do with my inside is I will make it the same crumb cake color, and I am going to be using the clamps on here. My husband is just nuts about clamps, and he can never have enough clamps, and we sort of tease him about that. So I am going to make clamps all over the inside of his card. So, all right, I'm going to bring this all the way down to the bottom. And I can do that this way, push it down a little bit, make sure this guy's working well, and he is. And I can, if you wanted to mail it, it would be a little bit difficult to mail because of these little guys, but the little shavings. And so I have an extra piece that I just cut, and then I just put a little bit of glue on here, and just glued some more shavings and kind of just bent that one down, I guess. And then I think we're ready for the sentiment, and the sentiment, I put that one up on dimensionals. I just used 2 dimensionals and put it up there on the pegboard. And I think that's just fun, You're plain awesome. So I think this, let's see if it looks pretty much like the original. It does. I think I put a little bit more antiquing on that part, on the workbench part, but we can certainly go back and do that. So those are the projects. That's the project for today. I think it's just super fun. I love interactive cards. So the one that we made today, your plain, just goes back and forth. Your plain awesome. So I hope you liked the project. I hope it's something fun that you will try. Maybe you've got a woodworker in your life. It would also make a perfect Father's Day card as well. So yes, with my husband's birthday, we've got about 2 weeks, and then it ends up being Father's Day. So we get a double whammy there. So thanks for joining me in the treehouse. It was lots of fun sharing this with you, and I hope you share it with others as well. And I hope also that you have subscribed to my YouTube channel. I am within 15 subscribers of hitting 1,000. So if you haven't already subscribed, if you will hit the subscribe button, and you'll push me to my goal of the 1,000. And if you have, thanks so much for subscribing. And I'm just excited to be with you and to share projects with you. And I will see you next time in the treehouse. Bye-bye.